We're going to have a great guest today. I hope you all put a big round of applause together. Get your questions ready so you can come down to the mic when it's time. After we do a few minutes, you'll get a chance to ask questions. And don't forget there are still photo ops available after this panel this afternoon, starting at 2. He's at 2. So if you haven't got your photo op already, make sure you get over to see Mike Colter and get a photo op. Without further ado, let's get the man out here himself. Everybody put it together for Mike Colter.
Really nice hotel room, so it's kind of hard to judge, but I really like what I've seen so far. No, I have walked around and been down by the water, and the weather is excellent, as you guys know. I'm sure you can appreciate that. This is like Cali weather all the time, so I'm really feeling at home.
Well, I want to start off by asking a question. I love listening to podcasts and getting people's origin stories. What got them into the business they're in? What motivates them? What's your origin story leading up to getting into $1 Million Baby?
Origin story, I'll make a long story short or a short story long, as I say. Basically, at home in a small town, South Carolina, not much to do, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life at a young age, and I started aspiring to be an actor because I liked what was going on inside of this box in my living room. And it was just one of these weird things. I was like, spent most of my time entertaining myself with action figures, very limited amount of action figures. I think I had like 2 for a while. And I named them and I created a world that basically consisted of the house because there was no there was no props. There wasn't action figures with cars. It was like just the action figure, and I basically let that little guy go through the house and experience the house. You ever seen Runaway Ralph? There's this book they used to have called The Rat. This is an old book, and sort of old heads. It's like one person here is like, Runaway Ralph, what the heck is that? Runaway Ralph. Well, I was fascinated by Runaway Ralph because it was a mouse experiencing the world. So my little action figure experienced the world. So my imagination as a kid was all I had that took me through from like an age of 5 to 12 or something. I literally lay on my bed and if you ever see, I did a show called Evil, which is coming out tonight, 2nd season. Yeah, great season, I can't wait for you guys to see it. I'd lay on my bed like my character David does in Evil. I'd lay on my bed as a kid and go somewhere else. And it was so cool because my imagination was so strong, I could just sit there and transport myself. And I'd lay there for hours. My mom would knock on the door and go, "What are you doing in there?" I was just laying there thinking and pretending I was somewhere else and engaging, just weird stuff. But I entertain myself. Kids nowadays, you have all these things, you have video games, you have all stuff. I had a stick, I was outside, I was jumping on a tree, I was like, I might have had a bike sometimes. You had to use your imagination. And that gave me the desire to become a professional pretender, as I like to say. And now we have people that help me pretend. They give me clothes, they give me a place to go, a set. They put me in position to help me to tell this elaborate story that we're trying to tell. And that's all we're doing. We're just having a good time and being really good at pretending. And so that was my original feeling when I was young. And I just decided back then, because I didn't have Google, I had to look through encyclopedias and these weird books that you had to open up and read and find these little stories and articles about people and magazines, and you go, oh, that's how they got there. Oh, there's a thing called college, and maybe they could theater, and I studied there, and maybe I get an agent, and then I get auditions. That was it. 1 + 1 = 2. That's it. I'm very good at that. You saw that, right? 1 + 1 = no, not 1. Not 1. I hadn't had my coffee yet. So that was it, and I basically just sort of plotted my course and tried to get into acting by training first and get out of my graduate program. And I waited tables for a long time and struggled and it hurt and I almost quit. And then I got older and I'm like, this isn't working out. I don't have any health insurance and this is sucking and I want to have a family baby and I want to grow up. But I really didn't want to grow up. I wanted to be an actor. So that's what happened.
You made it happen.
I made it happen eventually.
I promise not to follow up with any math questions.
No math. I'm done. expose myself.
You mentioned Evil. I got to watch most of season 1, and man, it wigs me out. But it's such a great show. What attracted you to the project and brought you on?
The best thing about Evil was that it was something different, different than anything I had read before. I remember coming with just Luke Cage. It probably got canceled suddenly. I know, right? Boo. I remember I got the call, and I just brought my second daughter home from the hospital. We just arrived with her, and it was like, just getting settled, having that experience. And then I think I literally was like maybe 2, 3, maybe the second day, I got a call from Jeff Loeb, and I saw the call, saw the number. I'm like, oh, Jeff's calling me. It's kind of interesting. We talked before, but this call was coming out of nowhere. It felt like it was like, oh, what does he want? So I picked the phone call up, and his voice sounded really strange, and it didn't sound good. It didn't seem like he was in a happy place. And he said, I regret to inform you. I wanted to tell you before you hear it on the internet that we're gonna have to, we're not gonna have a third season of Luke Cage. And I was in a bit of shock, but at the same time, I kind of knew because we had been delaying the third season so long because of certain script stuff, and it just was, something was weird. But I also was kind of thinking to myself that, if things come to an end, I gotta move on to something else. And as an actor, that's what I got as business for, to change characters and do different things. So while a part of me was really sad about not being able to fulfill and tell the third season story that we wanted to tell, because I felt like that was where we wanted to end it for, the most part, I was looking forward to a new opportunity. And I was a little afraid, like every actor who changes jobs, it's like, okay, oh boy, here we go, we're looking for a job again. But we're always looking for jobs. So I wasn't as down as I think other people were, because they didn't really feel it coming, but I kind of felt it coming. And so when I got on the phone with him, I basically was thinking, okay, what do I want to do next? And I had done something in action, which I hadn't done before, which was Luke Cage. It was in a different genre, Halo, and I was started like, okay, that's good. Now can I go back and segue into something else? And the Kings who write Evil, I'd worked with them in The Good Wife before, so I had an established relationship with them. So eventually, when they offered that role to me, it was right up my alley. I'm like, Catholic priest? I'm not Catholic. I don't know what that is. I don't know anything about that world. It was all the ingredients of something different that I could relate to, understand, and jump on and feel like this was going to be another world for me. So it was a perfect thing for me. I passed on a couple projects leading up to that because it didn't feel exactly right. And as long as you're in this business, the best thing that you can do for yourself and the hardest lesson to learn is saying no to things and passing up on projects. And that's still the hardest thing for me, I think. We're always like, oh man, someone offers you work and you go, oh man, well, what is it? And part of me goes, well, do you really want to do this project, or what is there about it that you want to do? And there's so many ways of looking at it. Money's obviously, everybody needs money, right? But at some point you have to start asking yourself other questions about what you're going to do with your time. And then you get children, you start thinking how much time am I spending away from home? It becomes a whole different thing. Where is it filming? All that stuff. So this project came along and it made sense in so many ways, and I was so happy about it. So that's really what spoke to me. The material, the world, the character, all of that,
I can imagine at this point you're getting some other offers to star in films and TV. Mm-hmm. Are there any projects that you've had to pass up on because you are in the series and you're too busy?
I basically try to, my team of people that work to try to get me work, my manager, my agent, my publicist who's not really working to get me work, but these people, the team of people that help me stay in the business, they try to keep those things away from me because, listen, I already told them, if I can't do it, there's no point in showing me something I can't have or something I can't be a part of and teasing me. I have to work when I'm working and I have a schedule, and so bringing up projects that are not possible doesn't do anybody any good. I like to focus on what I'm doing it, and we try to keep things, focused, and I don't want to be distracted by this mirage that is not really attainable. There's no point. It's like someone, you're married. No point going on like it's going through online dating. We're doing it right now. You know what I mean? Like we're here. I'm doing something. Don't bother me with that right now. So that's how they do that to keep me in a nice, focused mode.
Can't regret it if you didn't know about it.
No, exactly. You can't regret what you don't know about.
Speaking, you talked a second ago about doing the action in Luke Cage. I went back and watched $1 Million Baby, and you did a lot of boxing in that one. And then in Luke Cage, looks like you put on a lot of muscle. you haven't skipped many gym days. What kind of workout routine did you have to go through for Luke Cage, and what kind of diet?
Oh, everything's different. Like Luke Cage was like, okay, I need to put on like some weight. So when I was like Luke Cage, I was like literally I was probably like when I first got the job, I remember I was like maybe 205 to 210. I was lean, and I was, I think I was playing. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was playing things that didn't require a lot of body weight. So I was like, I gotta gain some weight pretty fast. So I put on 30 pounds in about 3 months. But that's actually about 3 months. You really just have to increase your calories and start working out. It's not really hard. You just have to go to the gym and you have to eat more and you have to take protein shakes and you have to do some supplements, no steroids, and you have to just keep on eating and just going to the gym. It's no shortcut to put muscle on. So I did not like the gym that much, but I was now having to go because it was a part of my job to get the weight on. And it took me a while to then get the weight off because then body's like, oh, we're heavy now. We just have to stay kind of heavy. And I was walking around, I remember feeling after I gained 20 pounds, I felt different. I was walking around, I was like, Jesus, it was like weird. It was like I was carrying a backpack and it was subtle. All of a sudden I'm walking and I felt like I wasn't in my own body anymore. It was just strange. And it took a while to get used to, but you just get used to it and it becomes a part of you. But it took a minute. And I had to eat when I didn't want to eat sometimes. It's like, gotta have a meal before I go to bed because I'm like, oh, geez, well, I gotta keep the weight up. So I better have a sandwich or something, a protein shake. I'm like, oh boy, man, get up, I gotta eat again. Oh, it's time for a protein shake. Oh, man, gotta eat again. Like I was always hungry. I was always eating whether I was hungry or not. So that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, I gained 30 pounds, but it was called the last year.
Called the last year.
Yeah.
COVID pounds. COVID 30, they say.
Well, speaking of, we all had to live through this, and I know it's a tough situation, but we had to live through COVID this past year, and I'm sure you went through some lockdown time.
Yeah.
While you were at home, did you pick up any new projects or start anything new, any new passions?
That was an interesting time for me because I traveled so much prior to COVID, and I was always on a plane. Like I felt like I have a backpack, and you live in my house. I keep a backpack. There's always one bag that's got stuff in it ready to go. It's like I'm always ready to go to the airport. Like, oh, it's time to go. Okay, I'm ready. I mean, literally, there's a bag somewhere. And my wife got mad at me because like, you never unpack that bag. I'm like, well, it's just too much work. I unpack it. I mean, I'm gonna need it at some point. I mean, soon. I keep clothes ready and then stuff. I'm ready to go just in case. So it was like a body shock for me to just be still for a very long time. I know everybody had their own routine, and for me, it was traveling and working, and then all of a sudden just having to stop. And just like not knowing when I was gonna go out again and work. And it took a minute to sort of decompress and to sort of like just get used to just being still. And I was lucky because unlike a lot of people, I didn't have to work right at that moment. Like I was in a situation where I needed to work, but some people needed to work and couldn't work. So I was understanding of my situation, and so that understanding, you have to mentally talk to yourself all the time about your circumstances and try to make things relative. Because if you can play mind tricks with yourself, you can always make yourself feel better if you really put the time in. You can always find a way to talk to yourself and tell yourself that someone else has it better, worse than you do. People tend to concentrate on who has it better than they do, and that's the problem. Who has it better than me? You gotta figure out who has it worse than you, just so you can give yourself an understanding of being appreciative of what you have, and your health, which is wealth in terms of what you really need. There's a saying, they say the wealthiest man in the world will trade you to his fortune for your health, because if he doesn't have that, nothing else matters. And so I was just like, you know what, just slow it down, relax, and focus. And during the COVID thing, what was interesting is that I still was able to work. It was where I had a job, I did a commercial for DoorDash. When people was like, oh, DoorDash, sure, it makes sense. Everybody's eating from home. It was funny, my neighbor, who was an executive for the company that did the commercial, we didn't know, we knew who we were, each other. I'm hardly home. So he texted me, because we're just neighbors, like, hey, are you doing the DoorDash campaign? I'm like, well, how do you know I'm doing the DoorDash campaign? And we started talking. I realized that he's an executive for an advertising agency or something. And so I did a commercial in my house. They brought all the equipment and just left it at the door. I had to do my own microphone, put a camera, and then he started doing Zoom, and everyone had to like, okay, put the camera here and stuff. So it was like kind of cool. I was like, oh, this is a cool little thing. I'm setting up a little commercial in my house. And then I got a job doing this little Netflix thing, series called Social Distance, which we did in my house. I did it in my house. I had a room in the house that I made look like an apartment. I was supposed to be I believe, in New York City, the character, and I basically just transformed a bedroom that I had that was a bedroom like my nanny stayed in, but I kicked her out for a bit, and I used that bedroom, and they gave me all this props and all this set stuff and the equipment, and the sound guy was outside my house running a cord up through the window, and then I had all this stuff I had to set up. It was a pain. They gave me like 12. They bring an new iPhone in, and we filmed it on iPhones. So they give me like 10 iPhones, and I would have to operate an iPhone and set it up, and they have a filming app on it that has all this apertures and that lighting thing. So I had a DP on the phone talking to me, setting the cameras up. I had to do all the stuff myself. It was weird. Then I had to act, and then it was like, okay, let's do another take, and let's change the camera. I said yes to it. By day three, I was like, why did I say yes to this? I got 3-4 more days of this, and I had to get up at my own house and get it, and like I'm at work at my own house. I wake up and go, oh, I gotta go in the room and start, open up the computer, and they're waiting on me. It's like, oh, time to start working. I had like 10-hour days of work in my house. This is so strange, so strange.
You didn't know it, but you became a streamer.
I became a streamer.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. So Social Justice was a fun gig, and it was basically people who were in lockdown, real time. And so that was the gig I had. And I just got lucky. I had a couple gigs in the pandemic, which is very odd. Very odd.
Tell your neighbor thank you. DoorDash unofficially
Thank
sponsored this 30 pounds.
He did. DoorDash official sponsor of the 30 pound, the 30 COVID 30. Yeah.
None of it's good. You did some voiceover work as well in the Halo franchise, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I'm a huge Halo fan. Can't wait for Infinite to come out later this year. Mm-hmm. Do you actually play any video games yourself, or have you in the past?
No, I gave them up. And listen, I'm not knocking any gamers because I just don't have the time. I don't have the time. I gave it up because I had a kid, and then I couldn't make it work. There's just too many things that I needed to be doing that did not involve gaming. Gaming, it's a portal to time that you just go into, and you wake up and you're like, the day's done. The day is done. And if you guys are people who like to, have a little fun and maybe, dabble in the edibles or whatever else, your day's done. There's no, you just sit down and you put the thing in your hand, and all of a sudden it's like, and then you're like, it's nighttime. I didn't eat. Did I eat? Is someone? What's going on? That's what happened, and I just got to the point where I couldn't compartmentalize gaming anymore, and it was like an addiction that I had to stop because I needed to do something else to be productive, and I just could not coexist. It couldn't coexist. I stopped gaming. I put the whole game in the box, and I was just like, had a funeral for it. It was a big deal. I was like, this is it. You're dead. You're dead. Like we're parting ways, and I miss you. I'm gonna miss you. This is wonderful. The big part of my life in college, but I'm an adult now, and I got responsibilities, and the kid is on the way. And if I keep playing with you, I'm gonna drop my kid, or my kid's gonna sneak out of the house, or something bad's gonna happen because I can't concentrate when you're on, and you just don't mean as much to me as you used to. And I had to break up with it, and then I killed it. It was sad. It was sad. So yeah, the gaming went away, and then but Halo, right? So back to your point, I quit gaming by the time I did the Halo video game thing, which segued into I did a voiceover while by the pandemic was over. I finished up a voiceover for this show called Tiny Creatures, which is on Netflix, and I talk about this because I kind of like plugging it, because what happened is we did this interesting little project, but nobody kind of got it. I don't think people got the project. Now, Tiny Creatures was a very painstaking project, and the reason I bring it up is because the people involved, what they did is they took animals and they basically put them in it's like a movie set. They created a movie set, and it looked just like it was a real place, right? The outdoors, the indoors. Every episode of Tiny Creatures has a specific location. One is like Arizona, one's New York City, New Orleans, and it's focused on the story of an animal, like maybe a field mouse, like Remy Ralph, right? Or a bird, or any little kangaroo. So we told the story of these creatures, and I narrated it, right? But what people didn't get is that this was kind of like acting for the animals. They couldn't understand what was going on. So we watch National Geographic, animals are in danger, they get eaten. Okay, we understand that. They were like complaining, going, this is animal abuse because they thought we were letting animals get killed, and we thought that the story was we were hurting animals and that we were making. No. It was they did an editing thing that would make you think the animal was eaten. No animals were harmed. They had hawks. They were training a hawk. The hawk had to like go down and chase something, but they were chasing an item that was not there. And then they had the mouse that was supposed to be chasing in a separate shot, running after something else. And they edited it all together to make a great little feature, look like a documentary kind of style film. And people didn't get it. They didn't know what was going on. They thought we were sacrificing animals. And no. This is all wonderful, interesting, clever editing. And people completely got it. And I showed my daughter. My daughter's like 6 now. Check it out. If you can, check out Tiny Creatures. Just give it a go and understand that this is basically movie making with animals. And your animals were really good. It's really good animals. Animal acting.
I know one of your coworkers from The Good Fight, Namby. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, of course, yes.
He's got into the DC world and done some voiceover work for some different characters there.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a character in any of the comic book series or cartoons or anime or anything that you would love to maybe get on that show and do voiceover work for?
You know what? Anyone that I would like to do a voiceover for.
Yeah, because I'm jealous of that voice. Like, you have a podcasting voice.
Listen, every voice is a podcasting voice. Let's be honest. If you take that microphone and you like implant it in your mouth, you can get some interesting sounds. You could just turn it like that. You can do all kinds of stuff. You could probably get an app to change your voice. Like everything's fake now. Instagram, nobody looks the way they look.
Yeah.
We still haven't figured that out. It's like, they look so good on Instagram, and then I saw them and they don't look as good. I don't know what it is. I don't get it. We can't believe that the audacity. People literally are shifting, changing their body form, and we're like, still can't get it. No, that's not their nose. That is not their face. That face does not look like that. No.
You talked about, as a child, having those couple action figures that you started your storytelling with. You're a collector then, at least you were at that point. Do you collect anything now, and what are you into?
Okay, so this is segues into another interesting conversation about life that I've started to experience that I'm kind of just really getting into. When it comes to collecting, so I read this book called The Art of the Life of Tidying Up or something like that. I can't remember exactly the title. He's a gentleman shaking his head. You know what I'm talking about, right? So I really, and this is going to shock a lot of you because I sense there's some pack rats in here. I sense there's a few pack rats. Raise your hand and own it, pack rat. There's a pack rat festival is what we have here. Because you guys like to collect stuff. You like to collect things that collect dust too. You like to, I'm not going to call you hoarders, but there's a few hoarders in here too, I know. Own it. You hoarders are here because you can't fit in your house. You probably can't get into your house. And you don't have a place to sit, so this is better for you. It's okay. You can come and hang out here until it's time to go to bed, and then you'll find your bed eventually, and then you lay down. But here's the thing. So collecting items, and I literally just went through this, and I'm still in the process of what they call discarding things that we do not use. It is a painful thing, and when you have things in your life that you don't use, it's just cluttering your mind. We collect things, material things, because we need them for comfort. We don't actually love them. We don't actually need them or care about them. But because we can, we walk into stores and we buy things. And we look at them and we go, ooh, that looks good. We have no purpose for this item. We don't know when we're gonna use it. It just looks good, and it's a therapy for us. We grab it and we take it and we go home and we unpack it, and the thrill of having it feels good for a moment. And sometimes some of you leave the price tag on it because you're probably not ready to use it. But after a moment, a couple moments, you have lost that little feeling that you had for this item. And I'm saying that because what I loved about reading this book, it explained to me what I needed to be doing in my life. And once I started doing it, I really just, it's a shift. Because when you walk into some sort of space and it's not cluttered and it's kind of minimalist, it's a different energy than an energy with a bunch of crap around. It's stuff is on the chair, stuff is on the counter, tchotchkes and little things that dust collecting. And all we do when we clean is we just move stuff around. It's a lot of stuff we don't need. We're just okay, I'm gonna organize this crap. We just organizing crap. I'm gonna stack all this crap up in the corner, put it in the bed, put it in the closet, hide it. It's all crap. we would take garbage bags, which is what I did, and I went to my walk-in closet, which I'm ashamed to say is probably the size of this stage, maybe bigger, and I went in that closet and I threw away 10 bags of crap. And what it felt like was it felt like I was transforming my life, really. Because what I was able to do is get rid of all these things that I wasn't using anyway. I literally revisited everything, and the simple tenet of this book was to say, whatever you pick up, if you do not love it, if it does not bring you joy, then get rid of it. You touch it, you look at it, if it does not immediately give you joy, and you do not feel something for this item, you give it away. You don't sit there and frown about it, should I keep this or not, I don't know. You've already made your decision. It doesn't mean anything to you. The minute you pick it up, you know, I love this, I don't love this, I'm indifferent. And indifferent and I don't love it has to go. Then you're left with all these items you love. And you can see them, and they feel good to you. Now you're using them, and really, also it simplifies, now you get up. When you get dressed, you have so many clothes sometimes, most of them aren't being used, but they're still around the clothes that are being used. So you're sitting there taking you 20 minutes to get dressed because you can't even decide what to put on. You got too much crap. Get only the things you want to wear and hang them up. I can really get down to the point where I can wear the same outfit probably every day or I like the same. I literally could dress in black and gray. Gray's my favorite color, black, gray, blue. I could buy the same colors and just wear them every day, and I wouldn't have to think about what I'm wearing. I've just gone through my underwear and I bought the exact same underwear. That's saving seconds out of my day. I am all the same underwear, all the same socks. I have the same, if I like a t-shirt, I might buy more than one of them. Because now I don't care that someone see me in the same t-shirt, it's clean, I put it in, nobody cares. How many shoes do I need? I get stuff for free, which is hard because now I have to figure out, do I really want it? I give things away. I don't want to have to look at a bunch of shoes. I got 4 shoes, I don't need a lot of shoes. I can really just get it down to 4 shoes. And that's what life is about. So collecting items, we gotta really be careful what we put in our house. And I have to talk to everybody about this now because it's become an obsession with me. I'm like, I don't want stuff that I'm not gonna use because then I have to find a place to put it. And I will throw it away, I promise you. You give me something I love, I'm throwing it away. So anyway, not to knock collectors, if you collect it and you love it, great. If it brings you joy, keep it. If it is not bringing you joy, get rid of that shit. Okay?
That's good PSA.
Yeah, good PSA. You love way too many collectibles.
Oh, yeah.
As long as they bring you joy, that's all.
We're going to take some questions from the audience in just a minute. So if anybody who's thinking about yours, you want to go ahead and line up at the mic up here, we'll get to you in just a second. But I had one more question for you before we get to those. My motto that I started years ago is the closing for my podcast, and I say it on my stream is Nerds Unite. I want it real big on my shirt right now. And it's about us all coming together and supporting each other and building each other up. Because there's so much hatred in the world, and God forbid to go to the comments section on the YouTube channel or something like that. But it's about us all coming together, and it's something I try to live by every day.
Yeah.
Do you have a motto or a phrase or something that drives you in your daily activities?
No, for me to have a real sense of a motto, it limits me. So it's like I make a list. I was talking to somebody about things you like about what are deal breakers for you. And what things are not compromised, you can't compromise on. So I make a list, and I have to make that list because you forget sometimes when you meet people or stuff, if you make this list, then it makes it easier. So when people come talk to you and you're dealing with people who you're gonna be in your world, right? They're in your circle, you can immediately write them off just based off of this deal breaker list. And it's simple. So, because then you don't have to worry, because you've been living long enough, these things you come up with, you know why you came up with them. You don't have to do it again. If you say, I don't want to hang around a person who, does heroin. Well, you don't have to hang around a person who does heroin to see whether it's going to work out differently. You already know. You know. It's a reason you already said that, right? If you say, I don't want to hang around somebody who has really bad credit, it's not because you know. You know why. You know why. You don't have to worry. So I go by don'ts with things I don't do, more so than things that I live by. It's like, what am I not going to deal with? Then that's better for me.
Still a lot. I like it. All right, do you guys have questions coming up? Give us your name and your question. Please get nice and close to the mic.
My name's Damon, and my question is, if Marvel Studios ever decide to reboot the Luke Cage series and only bring it into the MCU, and they ask you to reprise your role as Luke Cage, would you do it?
I think so. I have to see the script. I think so. I'm always willing to have a conversation. But it's one of those things where it's like above my pay grade. Like whoever owns Luke Cage, because Luke Cage is an entity unto itself. It's like the comic book, the copyright, all that stuff. It's not me. I played the role. They can take it and recast it. It's not up to me who plays it again, whether they approach me or not, and that's why I'm not really attached to it. I think I don't have ownership over that. It's like as much as I originated the role in itself. That's just it's a healthy way to be in life. You can't own something. You can't own people. I definitely can't own the role. I can play the role, and if someone wants me to play it again, I'll discuss it with them. But I don't really think about it too much because that's why it's like always forward, right? Forward always. Looking forward. I'll think about it if they come up to me, but I'd be interested in talking about it, sure.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thanks.
I guess our mic is dead. Super, hey, happy Father's Day.
Super Day, happy Father's Day, guys.
Yeah,
With all the fathers out there.
Do you have a question? What's your name?
My name's Lot. My question, I was wondering, did you read any Power Man and Iron Fist growing up before you ever got the part for Luke Cage?
You know what? No, because I grew up in a rural, small town, rural South Carolina, and I just didn't have any comic book stores. Like there was one maybe like 30 miles away, but my cousins would have comic books they'd bring from the big city, Charleston, South Carolina. Like they had a little bit more of a metropolitan thing going on there, so they had stores. Or so I would get people who had comic books to bring, when they brought them, they would maybe leave them with me if they had read them or something like that. But I didn't get a lot of comic books other than that. So Luke Cage was one that was probably more specific, and I just didn't get my hands on it. I'd heard of it, but I didn't have a comic book for when I was a kid. No.
Yeah, it was funny. I remember as a kid, Power Man and Iron Fist. I thought it was the other way. I thought Iron Fist was Power Man.
Power Man, Iron Fist, Power Man. I'm kind of glad I didn't actually read that because you know what? Reading the comic book and being a fan of the comic book prior to getting this opportunity to play the role, it would have really changed the way I would have thought about it. And I think it really made sense and helped me to not have a attachment or have an idea about this character before I looked at the script that was given to me. Because I know a lot of people who were really big fans of it who also wanted to play the role. And the obsession and the idea of what the character was already implanted in their head prior to seeing anything because they had grown up with this idea in their head. And I hadn't had that. I was coming from a blank slate of what this guy could be. And so it really was better for me, I felt, as an artist. It'd be like, it's like Bond. Everybody knows James Bond, right? Like I have an idea in my head about Bond. So it's already something that's in there. I didn't have that and I was happy about that.
Yeah, when you came out in the butterfly collar, that was iconic.
Yeah, we did that for the old school.
yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hey, my name's Joe, and we do Maria Kondo about every other year. So does it bring you joy?
Yeah.
But two things. One, love evil.
Thanks, man.
First episode grabbed the hell out of me. And second, you ever taken or missed out on a role, turned it down, and say regretted it in the past, or say I wish I'd have done it?
Oh man, you know what? I don't think so. It's tough because there's a couple things or components that go into what makes a role right for you. And what I've learned about the business is that what is for you most of the time you will end up with it. There's very few times when listen. They make things sometimes that everybody can agree when they see it, they go, oh, that was a mistake on a lot of levels. And there's a lot of people who are involved in creating and making projects that go about it from a different standpoint. What we have now is a very social media-based world now. We have a world that is sort of very cookie cutter. People don't really consider who's right for a role as much as who can we get that will bring pizzazz, bring a swagger, bring a certain amount of interest in the role. Who's popular, who's famous enough to. It's not about who's right for it. See, casting directors in the business are looking for the person to play that's right, and then the producers a lot of times are looking for the person that hopefully will bring the green light the project, hopefully, and also get eyeballs so they can make their money back. That's a whole different thing, commerce versus art. So when going to your question, when things end up in your lap, usually it's right for you, and that's how it is. And the things that don't end up with you, or sometimes they're just not right for you. And I've learned to let it go. And every time I think about that, I let it go, and I end up finding something that's better for me. You know, that's something that's better for me. I remember there was a role that came up before Evil, and I was really considering it, and I was talking to the creators about it, and honestly, I was like, oh, it's interesting, but it's not quite what I want, and it's not quite challenging enough. I'll be honest, it was like, when I was looking at it going, oh, if we could just change this, and maybe we could do this differently, and I was talking about it in a collaborative thing, but this was an idea that was already going to be executed the way they wanted to be executed, and I had to agree to just the role as it was, and I just didn't see the dynamic qualities of like the show, The Evil. I didn't see a lot of places that it could go in a character. I just wasn't interested in that way. It felt like something that would be fine, it would go, but I just wasn't really that interested in it. And I passed on it, and I passed pursuing it, and you know what? It worked out. It worked out. You gotta just wait until you feel it, and then you feel it, and if it's good, go with it, and then don't look back and don't worry about what else is out there. Like you say, whatever I don't know it won't bother me.
Hello, I am Braxton, and my question is, if you do remember, what were the names of those action figures that you had, and what were they made of?
My God, no. Okay, so the first action figure that I had, all I knew was he was a motorcycle rider with a motorcycle suit on, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a car that he couldn't get into, so it was just like, okay, the car is here, the action figure's here, and I was standing next to the car, and in my mind, he could get in the car and drive around. So it wasn't functional. Now, the other thing is, I played with him so much, he lost an arm, as they do. And of course, when he lost an arm, it was in battle, And I had another action figure that was from another world that didn't make sense, but I made it make sense. It was like, okay, this is like a pterodactyl, this is one of those things that he has to battle sometimes, in the kitchen, sometimes on the counter, or in the bathroom, and sometimes he'd fall into the toilet and come out of the toilet and he'd drown almost and get out of the toilet. So it was a whole thing. Sometimes he would be injured and I'd have to repair him and I'd have to lay him down and we would have to do things and try to get him to get there. He always fight injured. He was always, had an injuries like broke a rib and, and things like that nature. And when his head popped off finally, that was it. It was over. And then I had Transformers, that was a moment where, speaking of collecting that, I couldn't collect Transformers because I could barely afford them. My mom, getting them was good enough. But Transformers, that was the thing. Autobots and Transformers and He-Man, I think it was. He-Man was kind of cool. Had some Thundercats. That's when I started getting a little more stuff. But for a while, it was just that one action figure, that one car. For a while, those were the good old days.
Thank you.
So Luke Cage has a really specific phrase that he likes, a motto that he lives by.
Mm-hmm.
What was your reaction when you heard that phrase for the first time? It's so strange.
You know what? It was like, are you talking about which one? Because he had a couple.
I was thinking Sweet Christmas.
It was, you know what it was? It was one of those things where it went with the original comic book, it went with the world, and so those things as an actor, it was like, okay, I had to understand why he said it, and it was like he didn't, his father, he didn't curse, his father was a minister, and so he didn't curse, and so it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, all right, just to justify that thing. And I just put it in its place and I just underplayed it. I didn't take too much time to think about like, oh, this is unusual. Don't make a thing out of it. Like actors say, don't make a meal out of that. It's a throwaway. It's just how he talks, how he expresses something that, that's it's substituted with what the hell or motherfucker or whatever, right? It's like that's what it is. It's all those things that when you say it, you can mean so many different things, So that's how I kind of dealt with it. I was just like, it is what it is. And then the second season, the writer creator wrote in, Sweet Sister. That was another one. That was a tough one. It was like, Sweet Sister, And we literally was like, he was like, I'm like, sometimes I say, no, we can't say this one. Like, I'm not, no. So I did Sweet Sister, but the hardest one was, give me where's my money, honey? Like that one, where's my money, honey? Give me my money, honey? That was one where I was talking to the guy who was like, it's like, but give me my money, honey. It was, that was the tough one. Give me my money, honey. That was the tough one.
Thank you.
Man.
So a buddy back there was like, I want to know what his favorite comfort food is after working a long day.
Comfort food, ramen. Ramen, yeah, I'm a ramen guy. I love some good ramen. Ramen has levels to it, and I don't know if you guys know. I mean, ramen's like Japanese in origin, and I've been to Japan, and love Asian culture. I could live in Japan if it wasn't so many natural disasters. There's too many things going on over there all the time. It's like, God, man, the typhoon, the hurricanes, there's all kinds of stuff going on. Earthquakes, but not that LA is any better, really, to be quite honest. But love Japan, love sushi. One of my favorite. I eat pretty much Asian culture food all the time. It's always something, Vietnamese. I'm always, that's what I do, always. So, but ramen can be next level if you make the broth correctly. I don't know if you guys know. There's ramen, and then there's ramen. And if you're in New York City, you go to a place called Ippudo's. Ippudo's is an Astor place, and if you ever go to New York City, you're in a ramen. You make sure you take a trip there. There's no reservations. You go there and you get in, and it is exceptional ramen every single time. It has never let me down. It's 10 out of 10 out of every time. And you go in there, and I gotta tell you, it's the broth. It's like the broth takes like 24 hours to make or something like that. Like it's nothing. Like it's not instant. You just shake a little flavor in it. Ramen's not shake a little powder and boil it. That's not ramen. It's not ramen. I didn't know that wasn't ramen until I got to New York City and started eating ramen on the next level. When I grew up in college, ramen packets were those hard noodles. You boil it, you drop that little packet of thing in there, you shake it around, you eat it. It was good, it was tasty, but it wasn't ramen. Now that I've been just introduced to ramen, it's hard for me to just go eat bad ramen. It is what it is. So if you don't want to get hooked on good ramen, don't ever go to Ippudo's, because then you won't eat the bad ramen ever again.
Don't be nervous. Come on up. You can still ask a question. We'd love to have.
And the microphone doesn't really work, so you can yell it from your seat.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, no, I have a question.
What do you guys?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you have any stories from filming The Defenders on the set?
Let me see. I'm sure I have a lot of stories. We think. Well, I guess one of the stories I remember this. I was talking to somebody about it. It was like, Luke Cage is supposed to be really strong, right? And so at some point, sometimes they ask you to do things that, like, okay, well, I mean, it's you're supposed to be able to do it because it's like, but it's television and you're just filming. So I remember, well, this is more of a Luke Cage thing. This is the first episode, first season. When I learned to swim when I was like 33, right? So I grew up in South Carolina. There was no pools around, no public pools. My family didn't swim per se, and this really goes back into segregation. In the South, people didn't let black people use pools, so that's why we didn't learn to swim. So here we are, non-swimmers, and here I am not being able to swim because my parents couldn't swim. Well, it's a weird thing, but you get a fear of water. And what people do is when you get a fear of water, they just avoid water. And sometimes you hang out in water and pools and stuff, but you know that you can't swim. So in the back of your mind going, oh boy, I hope this boat doesn't go flip over. Oh boy, I hope, that you never tell anybody, you just hope you don't have to deal with it. So all my life, up until I was 33, there were moments where I'd be around the water, I'd be in the ocean, I went to the Maldives for vacation, taking a boat from the airport and stuff. And I'm like, I got used to just faking the funk. I mean, my wife knew I couldn't swim, and my friends, but there's a lot of friends I had that couldn't swim. And it's a weird thing. You're sitting there going, man, I can't swim, but you just don't deal with it. So at some point, I'm watching my in-laws, who are not athletes by any stretch of the imagination, swim. And I'm going, they can swim and I can't swim. This is really annoying me. And they'd always be in the pool, and they'd go, come on in, and stuff like that. We can teach you to swim. And I'm like, oh, just leave me alone, because I don't want to stress it. I also don't want to expose myself as a non-swimmer, because it's not pretty when you can't swim. It's just you go in the water, and it's like, and you're flailing around and stuff. So I bit the bullet, and going back to life-altering things, because look, you get one life, right? I'm going to conquer this fear, and I'm going to change my life, and I'm going to learn to swim. It is a fear that I have to get around, and I know that someday I may need to swim, and I'm an actor, and I want to be able to do something that's going to actually add to the, I was going to cross that bridge at some point. I'm going to get a job, and they're going to ask you, can you swim? And I'm going to have to say no. And I did not want to do that. I wanted to be a swimmer, and I was like, I'm going to do this. So I started swimming on vacation with my family, and I started just going in a shallow part, and I started doing all that stuff. And eventually, I just kept working on that, working on stroke, working on getting underwater, being comfortable, going through all that stuff. Finally, I started making a breakthrough. I got to the point where I was doing the doggy paddle and just treading water. That's a big part, because that's what doggy paddle is going to save you. That treading water is pretty much, that's what you're going to be doing most of the time. If you're going to swim, you got to be able to stay in the water and upfloat. There was a moment where I almost drowned in my own backyard. And I've been doing this for years, and I got to the point where I'm trying to, and I got to the point, I'm going to shorten the story because I don't want to scare anybody, but I almost drowned in my backyard. And I got to the point where I basically let all the air out of my lungs, and I hit the bottom, pushed off, and I went out to the side, and I got to the shallow part. Now, I'd been fighting that water in my backyard by myself for about 2 minutes, and I was literally thinking to myself, this is it. This is it. I'm going to die in my own backyard. But when I got off the edge, I was sitting there silent. I never told anybody for years that I was drowning. I'm sitting there, my body's tense, I'm tired. I fought for my life for like 3 minutes, nobody knows, and I literally am like, oh my God. And then I said, that's never going to happen again. I figured it out. I got to swim. And then moving forward, almost 6 years later, I got to play cage, and they're asking me to go in the water, in the pool, be underwater for hours, shooting the scene where I'm supposed to be in the tank. I'm doing things with my nose. I'm doing things scuba divers don't do because it's not safe. And I'm doing things in deep, and it just shows you what I was able to do, but it was liberating. It was a huge part of my life that I had to like put apart, put aside, and avoid because I could not deal with my own fear. And I've used swimming countless times since then. I've shot movies and stuff, and I'm in water and I'm swimming and I'm comfortable. It is a huge deal. It would change my psychological makeup of like, you can do almost anything if you put your mind to it. I jumped into evil, I save a baby, I don't give me a seat, I had to save a baby. You just have to, but it made me change as a human being. You have to learn to conquer your fears, and that was something that was huge for me. So that was always a memorable thing of having to go, when they asked me, hey, are you comfortable in water, do you swim? And I go, yeah, like a fish. Yeah, that was a huge deal for me. Oh, so many places. I love traveling. I love it. Growing up in South Carolina, I didn't take a plane until I was 25 years old, and I got out of grad school and went to LA to audition for my agent. So that was the first time I was on a plane. And I was afraid to fly. And we go out, that was another fear. I was like, oh, flying, Jesus. Everybody in my family was afraid to fly, and so I was afraid to fly too. And then I got over it because I'm like, I can't be afraid to fly because ultimately I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything if I don't get on a plane. So, it's a necessary evil. So I think my favorite place, I'd say Japan, Paris. I love Paris. I don't necessarily love French people, I'll be honest. They're kind of mean sometimes when you don't speak fluent French. They can be a little mean, but the food's good and the city's beautiful. And so I love Paris. I love traveling. London's good. I love seeing new cultures because what new cultures allow me to do is put perspective on what the world is really like. Because no matter how much you try to convince yourself you know what's going on, like I went to the Middle East, you can't imagine because you never were there. You can't look at the news and say that's what's going on because you got to go over there and see. And I'm not saying you have to travel into some places that are dangerous. What I'm saying is that the perspective of what is really happening in the world is incomprehensible. Even in our own state, like going to a state that people talk about, you have to go there and experience it for yourself a little bit. And it could either confirm some suspicions or it completely change your world. What I've learned about places is that everybody thinks everything's dangerous until they get there and they realize that, oh, wait a minute, this is all right. It's not as bad as I thought it was. It's like what you've been told is like dangerous. This is so dangerous. When I was in Jordan for 2 months, and Jordan is like between Israel and smack dab in the middle of the Middle East, and there's a lot going on. And I was there, and everybody had weapons. It was at like the malls and these checkpoints and things. It was really weird for me. It was really intense. Everybody was dressed differently. It was an intense culture shock. But I had to be there for 2 months, and after a while, the things that are so shocking to me became normalized. It was just a way of life for the people that lived there. And it made me understand about everything that we maybe think is normal, maybe being weird to them. Like what we eat, you know, I grew up eating pickled pig's feet. Yes, ill. Why? That's what people ate. I didn't know any better. I moved away and I thought to myself, what the heck? Well, I'm eating pickled pig. We drank sweet tea. We put gobs of white sugar melted in hot water and we put it in tea. That's disgusting if you keep drinking it. It literally gives you diabetes. But I didn't know any better. You just do. So we just are products of our own environment. And so traveling for me, every place I go that's different. Ireland, UK, Tokyo, Korea, any place I go, I'm going there to try to expunge something from that environment that's going to change maybe the way I live my own life. Because I don't want to die the same person I was born as. I have no ambition of being the same person when I lay down. Everyone's like, oh, people, you changed. You're damn right I changed. I want to change. I want to be something different. I'm trying to make the person I want to be. I wasn't born the person I want to be. I want to make the person I want to be. I want to continue to develop as a human being and change. And the hardest part about change is admitting the things you're doing sometimes is not right or it's not wrong. It's not wrong or right. It's just not right for you. So I'm just about changing. So it's a constant changing process for everyone. It's so boring to eat the same things. It's so boring to do the same things every day. I swear to you, if you have the internet, spend more time on the internet just exploring things. Don't just let people guide your mind. Just Google things. People ask me sometimes, where'd you get that idea? What do you mean? That's what I Googled it. Why don't you Google it? Well, Google it and check out a few sites. Google that. And it's going to change your mind. Don't just repeat what the person next to you is saying. That person is not even educated. Then where did they get the information from? Google it. Double check. I say things to people sometimes. They don't trust me. Go check the internet. Go find multiple sources. But do not listen to people standing around you who have done nothing with their life tell you something and you go, yep, that's right. And you start repeating it. Not good, people. Not good. Not good. So.
Well, I'm afraid I got the call from the dugout. We're out of time. So thank you, Mike Colter.
Hey guys, I appreciate it. Thank you guys.